This is Matt Hurd. You can find me on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer, and I'm here with a special episode of ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Yeah, thanks for downloading the latest episode of the Obsessive Viewer Podcast. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be a genre, trope, movie or show, each week. And today's a special episode because I'm here without my two co-hosts, Mike and Tiny, and I'm here with my friend Matt from the Nerds Domain. Hey, Matt.
Hey, guys.
Hey, welcome to the podcast. And we're just doing a kind of solo, like one-on-one, kind of potpourri kind of episode thing. This is kind of a new thing for us. It was originally going to be a bonus episode, but we actually our schedules were really conflicting, so this is actually going to be the week's episode. So no pressure,
Sweet,
Matt.
I've been upgraded.
Exactly. So as an introduction, why don't you tell us about Nerds Domain and all the stuff you do and everything?
Oh, well, the Nerds Domain is awesome. We are a website where we do reviews, books, podcasts, movies, apps, games, and TV. Books, podcasts, games, apps, TV, and movie. This is why I do live to hard drive, because I screw up everything. So we have the website where we review a bunch of stuff. And then as reviewers, we went, you know what? We don't talk nearly enough about stuff that we like, because clearly writing something once a week is not nearly enough. So we put together a couple of podcasts. One is the Nerds Domain podcast, where we talk about a little bit of everything. It's usually about stuff that we are experiencing, whether we like it or not. We tell you a little bit about it. Typically, we tell you about what we like, but sometimes it's about stuff we don't care for. Those are either What You Doing, where we talk about what we're doing that's geeky and fun, a Criterion Collection movie, where we watch a movie from the Criterion Collection and tell you what we thought about it. Those are the ones that usually aren't very good. And then the immediate movie review, where we go out to a movie the weekend it's released, watch it, and tell you what we thought, so you know whether you should go see it or not. And sometimes those are not what we wanted to watch. Like I Frankenstein last year about this time. Horrible was the when. I love Shirley, my co-host, and my mate. She
right.
Like, we're together on everything, but she is so rose-colored glasses on everything. And then she watched I Frankenstein, and about halfway through, she went, "Wow, this is bad," in the theater. And I went, "Okay, it's not just me. This is really bad." And then our other podcast, since I talked about the first one for so long, our other podcast is the Call of Cthulhu actual play podcast we call Masks of Nyarlathotep, where each week we play through the Masks of Nyarlathotep super adventure, and I get to slowly kill off or drive crazy my characters while my players experience the world of Call of Cthulhu horror, which typically has to do with insanity and death. Those are our two current podcasts, although beautiful. By the time this comes out, Gaming with Scott might be out.
Nice.
I say might. Everything's ready. It's just a matter of making sure we get everything posted. Gaming with Scott is Scott Troiano, one of our co-hosts on Masks of Nyarlathotep, and our sometimes co-host on Nerds Domain podcast. He is running a Marvel superheroes game on the old Face Rip system. Nice. He's got a good crew there. They're running through a good story. Ironically, they're playing the Marvel superhero system in the DC superhero world, which, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, I guess.
Right.
And then coming very, very soon will be Go Fund This, which is our crowdsourcing podcast, where we focus on crowdsourcing projects and their project managers while they're up. So we can give them one more way to kind of get the word out about their project. That's the word. So those are all the podcasts we have right now.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. We like podcasts, and we hope you do too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I love Nerds Domain. That's admittedly that's the only one of your guys that I've listened to, because I've just been busy with stuff. But it's really and you guys have given us so much love. We were on me and Tiny were on your Jurassic Park episode, which was so nice because like you invited us out to the screening and everything, and it was just a blast. Kind of still waiting for more invites, but whatever.
Well, honestly, that one was that was for my birthday, and I wanted a bunch of people to go out. But the same movie theater is going to start doing Marvel movies.
Oh, really?
So they're starting with the Avenger and then Captain America, leading up to May when Avengers 2 comes out. They're going to hit one every month.
Oh,
and
man.
I want to try and hit them, but our weeks are so busy sometimes. I just don't know if we'll be able to hit them all. We got to see Gremlins at that theater, too, and that was phenomenal until the children behind us started crying because it turns out PG doesn't actually mean PG in 1984. So.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to definitely have to check that out. I've been, what was it? I watched, I was watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. the first season, and then by the end of it, I was like, I'm gonna watch and review everything from the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the site in the lead up to Age of Ultron. So I need to like get back to do that. And then my PS3 crapped out, so.
Oh yeah. That's when you'd go out and buy a Roku.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I did. I went out and I bought a Chromecast, and it's like a lifesaver.
Oh yeah.
I can't stop singing its praises.
Yeah, I looked at the Chromecast, but I don't have an HDMI input on that TV I was using, so I got a Roku instead. Because honestly, I won an Apple TV because I bought stuff on iTunes, and then I didn't have an HDMI input, which is the only thing Apple does because they're a bunch of jerks.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, I'll get a Roku, and then they were like Chromecast. I was like, yeah, HDMI, never mind. But the Roku was really, really nice, and I was very happy to get it.
Nice.
So
I think that's what Tiny has. He has like one of the Roku. I don't know if it's the most recent like version or whatever, but like as soon as, because like my PS3, I've had my PS3 for several years, and it like completely crashed like 2 years ago, and so I just went ahead and bought a new one because I was like, all right, screw it, whatever. And I use my PS3 for basically all my media. Yeah, and then this time, like it's not like fully crapped out or anything. It's just I think there's just too much dust in it or something, and I need to like clean it thoroughly. But I was like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to open it up because I'm all nervous about that kind of thing. So I was like, you know what? I'll just buy a Chromecast, watch Netflix on it, and eventually I'll get around to cleaning my PS3.
Yeah. Well, the Chromecast is never a bad thing to have.
No, which is what I'm finding out now. Like I love it so much, but we're getting sidetracked. Let's talk more about Nerds Domain and basically how did you get started with all of this stuff? What's your origin story or your
Well, so back in the olden days when podcasts were not really a thing yet, but they really were. There is a online comic called PvP Online. I love PvP Online.
Okay.
Written and drawn by Scott Kurtz at the time. And he posted something one day about how he was in a D&D game that they recorded for Wizards of the Coast. Huh. And I was like, ooh, awesome. And they had, and this is actually probably a bigger name, they had Penny Arcade with them, with him on the podcast. So the three of them were playing D&D. The first game was pretty cool. The second recording session, they brought in Will Wheaton, which was even cooler.
Right.
So I got really deep into podcasts there. Went from there into like Red Panda Adventures from Dakota Ring Theater, which is phenomenal. It's full on like old timey radio skits that are recorded current day, and they're moving along in the timeline as though it were real time. So they've recorded probably 6 years. They started in 1936. They've entered World War II. Huh. And it's all Canadian, so it's this weird dichotomy of just weird Canadian things, because then they're Canadian,
right?
And then like superhero and like noir, and it's really good. They also put out another one. They put out one podcast called Dakota Ring Theater, but they do episodes of Red Panda Adventures. They also do Blackjack Justice, which is this crime noir storyline, and he's a private detective. I love everything Dakota Ring Theater puts out. It's phenomenal.
That sounds incredible. Like I'm a big fan of like kind of the noir kind of stuff, like crime noir like that, like old school stuff like that. And that really sounds amazing.
Blackjack Justice would probably be more along the lines where you want to go. Not that Red Panda Adventures isn't good, but it's very much a like 1930s Batman feel to it. So it's you know, he's larger than life, and it's a mix of magic and science, and it's really good. I really, really like it. So I went from the Wizards of the Coast into that, and then I just found a bunch of stuff. Actually, I stayed with a gaming podcast, and that's really what opened up a lot of podcasts to me. I went to a podcast called Critical Hit, where they play D&D. You'll see a theme there. And it's on the Frog Pants Network, and we talk all the time about Frog Pants on our podcast, mostly because I love everything they do. But Frog Pants has a ton of podcasts. I want to say something like 12 on their network, and then another 18 quote-unquote friends of.
Jeez.
And it's everything from, they have one of the oldest World of Warcraft podcasts out there. So if you're into World of Warcraft, The Instance is really, really good. And they had 3 original hosts. It was Scott Johnson, who runs the network, William Dills Gregory, who plays a lot of WoW, and then they originally had Randy Jordan. Randy Jordan left because he got a job at Blizzard and couldn't stay with the podcast.
Wow.
So like they're really, really, really into the entirety of it. And then they have a bunch of other stuff. They have a morning show called The Morning Stream. They have just tons of stuff. So between that and a bunch of other stuff I found, I've been very, very happy with what I'm finding, and I'm really excited about podcasting in general. So I'm going to be really long-winded, tell you a whole lot of stuff.
Totally fine, man.
Forgot this one's all about me. I'm used to being the interviewer, and I'm like, okay, I can't talk this much. No, so back in 2012, actually back in 2010, a friend of ours, a friend of Shirley's, came to us and said, hey, I can't make it to Gen Con this year. I need somebody to go there and take our press passes and write reviews for us. And I was like, okay. That'd be awesome. So we did that the first year, and everything went pretty well. We did that the second year, and things went pretty well. And between the second and third year, I was getting the company wasn't going in a direction I really, really wanted. I felt like I needed more guidance, or I needed more control. And so we split with them under no bad terms. But we split with them, and I just said, you know what? I write write reviews for other people. Why don't I write reviews for myself? So I got myself and Shirley, a good friend of mine, Justin, who is the local, or is our local weird guy, and then my cousin Johnny, who not that I tapped him specifically because he's an artist, but I tapped him because he's an artist. We got together and we were like, hey, let's do this review thing. And we set down our, what we were going to do. And then Johnny and I were both like, hey, we should do podcasts. And then I realized that nobody else was going to chip in money. And I was like, you know what? Podcasts can be a back burner thing for right now. So we got the site up for about 6 months. And I was like, hey guys, we're going to do podcasts. And they're like, oh, okay, what are we going to do? And I'm like, well, what do you guys think? And they're like, right. So what are we going to do? And I realized, that I was kind of going to have to lead this on my own, and I've been okay with that so far. And we started off with our very first podcast was the 2013 year in review. No, 2012 year in review.
Okay.
We've done the 2012, 13, and 14 year in review, so we've done 3 of those now. So back in, ironically, we recorded like 2 days after New Year's in 2013. And then it took till like March to get it up because we had hosting issues, and I completely had no idea what I was doing. Turns out that RSS feeds are not coding I can even begin to understand, because it doesn't look like anything I've ever learned.
Right.
So we eventually found a good host, started putting those up starting March of 2013. And here we are 2.5, almost 3 years later. Plugging along, I guess, and expanding, because we went from the Nerds Domain podcast, which was kind of our flagship for 6 months, and then we started up the Masks of Nyarlathotep. And while the Nerds Domain podcast, I feel like, is the heart of what we do, the Masks of Nyarlathotep is hitting a better audience. Not a better audience, let me rephrase that, a bigger audience. The people we have are totally equality. We love them if we ever get to meet them. I've never met a fan of our podcast that I didn't know already and didn't have to turn on to our podcast to begin with. But Masks has outgrown Nerds Domain, and you know what? I'm okay with that because I love what we're doing on Masks.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting ready for a big season change there. We've been doing this Masks of Nyarlathotep Super Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to last, according to the book, a year to 18 months. We are at the 18-month mark right now, and we still have one chapter left.
Oh, wow.
So when we finish up that chapter, that'll end that. We'll do some side quest stuff where we just do one-shots
Okay.
to give me time to prepare for the next storyline, which will be called Octung Cthulhu, which is World War II, where the Nazis have contacted the evil Cthulhu mythos and are using them to help win World War II.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, so it's all these weird, like, super science, but not science, because it's eldritch evil, machines and magic, and it's a very deadly system. So, Matt, I think we've talked, and you don't play a lot of role-playing games.
Right. I've never really given it a proper chance, though.
Well, to give you a good idea, a fighter, like a 5th level fighter in D&D has like 50 some odd hit points, and most things hit for 10, maybe 20 hit points of damage at a time. So you can take a couple swings, and there's always healing magic out there.
Mm-hmm.
So the most robust character I've ever seen played was one I played. Had 13 hit points in Call of Cthulhu. Most guns do between a D8 and 2D6. So generally on one shot I'm dead. And if I don't get killed by straight being shot or bludgeoned to death, seeing things erodes your sanity, and that's actually a stat in the game that you slowly lose. And as you lose it, things get harder to deal with in reality, and you can actually lose your character to sanity loss.
Oh, wow.
So in the Masks of Nyarlathotep storyline, we've lost 3 characters to sanity loss.
Jeez.
Completely. I've killed 1, 2, maybe it's just 2. 3. I forgot 3. I killed 1 in a montage. It was awesome. So I've killed off 3. I've put 3 in the mental institution. 1 fled for their lives, or for her life, and it's been a good run. I'm enjoying it.
Nice.
But World War II in this system is going to be a little rougher because bullets flying across a battlefield. One straight bullet means your character's dead, and that's it. So
right.
We're gonna modify the rules a little bit to make it a little more pulpy, but still keep the feel of it. So
that's really cool. I'm really interested in those kinds of storyline centric podcasts, like not necessarily like role playing stuff, but just like I haven't really been able to crack into storytelling podcasts that much, like in like a narrative kind of way.
Yeah,
and that's always something that's kind of interested me, but also kind of eluded me a little bit.
Yeah, I just I really want to get into like anything like that, but every time I look at it, like the ones I keep getting pushed towards, like everybody's listening to, and they tell me it's fantastic, and I'm just like, I don't know that I want to listen to it. I don't want to feel that disappointment that I know I'm going to feel.
Right.
Because it's not going to stand up to whatever they just told me it was. So, like, the big one is Serial. I keep hearing, oh, Serial's amazing. Serial's amazing. And I'm like, it might be. It might be the best thing ever, but I don't know.
Serial's amazing. No, it really is, because it, like Serial, and I know you're a fan of Startup too.
Oh yeah.
Like I love those kinds of kind of journalistic and I almost said diuretic, as in like a diary kind of thing. But like Serial is a really interesting journalistic endeavor.
Oh yeah,
and it's fascinating to listen to it, and I'm so excited that it got so much acclaim and so many people like listen to it. I've seen like on message boards and like on the podcast subreddit a bunch of people posting saying like, okay, well I'm new to podcasts. What do I do now? Or how do I listen to more podcasts and stuff? And I'm like, oh, obsessive viewer.
Yeah, I need to get on Reddit. Like we've been pounding the pavement going to cons, and every time we go to, or I listen to how do we get more listeners, every time the same people tell me, You should be on all of the social networks. Also be on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be, as dumb as it sounds, I don't want to be out on Reddit schlocking my podcast, because that would be the only reason I would get on there. I know what lies in Reddit, and it will distract me from everything else I do. So I try really hard to avoid it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the big pitfall of the podcasts subreddit specifically, because it's, I mean, at its core, like it's a very strong community. Like there's a lot of people that are kind of swapping notes and talking shop about podcasts and everything, but I mean, it's every single day is just someone just jumping in there and being like, "Oh, hey, check out my podcast," and nothing else. And it's like it just dilutes all the meaningful conversations. But it's a really good resource for just information, and they have like a separate thread dedicated to daily episodes where you can throw in your information for your latest episode and stuff like that.
Yeah, we just joined, Masks of Nyarlathotep just joined the Pandora Society, which is a steampunk-centric blog. So we're posting over there now, which is kind of awesome. Wow. I'm really excited about that. We met the leader of that. His name is Aloysius Fox. I don't think that's his real name, but if it is, that's even better. But he invited us out to do some Cthulhu stuff at the Steampunk Symposium in Cincinnati. So I'm really looking forward to getting out there in April.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it was, we ran a Call of Cthulhu game at Starbase Indy.
Right.
And my cousin John ran the game that Aloysius was in, and he was like, yeah, I saw his name, and I thought, I should know this. I know a guy by that name. He used to run this steampunk thing that I was really, really into. I don't remember what it was though. and so he comes by the booth the next day and he's like, hey, I really appreciate it. And I'm like, hey, are you involved in the steampunk community? He's like, yeah, I run this website. And my cousin was like, really? Because I used to be on that website. And I was really a big fan. And like he had that geek out moment of getting to meet somebody that, you know, was a celebrity to him.
Right.
And then he was like, hey, would you guys like to do like a game like that at the steampunk thing? And I'm like half listening to conversation, because it's not that I don't care about steampunk. It's just I don't have the time, the effort, or the physique to really get into steampunk.
Yeah.
And it just, so I kind of try to ignore it because it's something I would, again, fall in prey to. And I was like, what? And they're like, and John and Shirley were both like, yeah, we'll be there. And I'm like, whoa. Let's slow down and back up. We're going to be where? They're like, oh yeah, we're going. Don't worry, we're going.
That's
Guys,
awesome.
Normally I'm the one that plans stuff, and I appreciate you planning things, but I hope that's not a weekend we already had something going on.
Right.
And it's not, thank God. But
nice.
April through mid-June is going to be terrible now. But that's okay. It's nice. what you do for podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to touch on your convention experience, because I mean it's just completely dwarfed us, obviously. I mean we've done Indie PopCon and Starbase Indy, thanks to you, actually. Thank you again for that. That was awesome.
Oh yeah.
And that's pretty much the extent of our convention experience so far, because we started it back in June of 2013. And I mean, Indie PopCon was a huge deal for us. And then,
oh yeah, we had a blast at Indie PopCon.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Did you see that they've got dates and they already put out word for tables?
Yep. And I need to contact them because like the second or third day of Indie PopCon, we paid them for a table for this year. And I kind of want to make sure that that's still honored.
Well, I'm sure it will be. The Indie PopCon guys are super good.
Oh yeah,
about that kind of stuff. Indie PopCon was our first big convention, and it was a big push from us to get there and get everything set up and really, really expose our podcast to everybody. Mm-hmm. In the process, I saw a bunch of stuff we could do different, which isn't a bad thing. It was just it was a realization that, hey, look at this, look at all the things we could have done in a different manner that would have made this better, like having prints that my artist had, because people would walk by the booth and be like, "Oh, you have an artist. Well, what's he got for sale? Oh, he only does commission pieces. I'm out." So that was a big one. And then our sign up lists for our newsletter were great until we lost the physical lists, and I can't find those for the life of me. But we upgraded to a digital list now on my iPad, and we have prints from my artists, not a ton, but some.
Right.
So Indie PopCon was great for that, and then we got to meet Candace McClure from Battlestar Galactica. We interviewed her.
Right.
It was just all around. It was a great experience, and I was very, very happy we had to go. And I'm looking forward to this next year. They told us to let them know and reserve the table, and I let them know, and they're like, "We'll let you know on the 15th of February how much you owe us." And I was like, "Okay,
right,
I'll wait."
Nice.
And so we're looking at that again, and then. Oh, you know what? Let's back up, because this year, so far, we've only been to one. We went to a midwinter gaming convention up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Right. How did that go for you guys?
It was a different experience for a bunch of different reasons. First, unlike most conventions that are laid out on one floor across a large area, this one was laid out on lots of floors in an up and down manner, and for some reason that threw me off. I kept forgetting where I was going, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. The convention itself was really friendly. If you're a gamer out there and you think, well, what's it really like? It's like Gen Con, only everybody's nice. It's not so damn crowded, and the vendor hall is much smaller, but still pretty damn big.
Nice.
I was impressed. They probably had 24 vendors in there. And I got this awesome, badass map. I'm a huge fan of Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas.
Nice.
This guy does hand-drawn maps, and I got one of Fallout 3. So I got the DC area with certain places marked, to the point that literally I pulled out Fallout 3 and started playing it again, even though I've only played through it like 4 times.
That is awesome. Yeah,
it's just a gorgeous map, and it was only like $10 for all the work the guy put into it. I was like, whoa, okay. So we didn't have a table there, but we got to meet a bunch of good people. We had a podcast networking event that went over really well. We did a live recording of our podcast. We were on another podcast called The Nerdalogs, Your Story, which, Matt, I highly suggest you check out.
Okay.
Nerdalog, Your Stories, what they do is they play a couple of songs that they really like, and by play, I mean they cover them with the guitar and this thing that looks like a mouth piano, so it has this tube coming out of it that you blow into while you play the piano with one hand.
Okay.
It has a specific name, but we're just going to call it mouth piano because they were okay with that.
Okay.
So they play a couple of songs. They have people come up and tell a story relating to their theme. So ours was role models, ROLL, role. So we talked about like the people that were really important to us as role models in gaming, and so everybody got up and told a story. Everybody's story was pretty funny. One of their the people that they bring along, they all get up and tell stories too, but they intersperse it with the audience. One of their hosts had a very biting, like, dark comedy story about her own life and how she feels like a failure. It was really good.
Oh, wow.
It was a really solid podcast, and it was like 2 hours we recorded.
Wow.
And the only thing that bothered me was I was like, guys, I thought this was going to be an hour because I planned to go to the bar, and there's a nerd bar here in town, and I'm missing it. But they were super awesome. I was really happy with being on that. That's a really good podcast. They're really into it, and they're going to start recording at the Cards Against Humanity home office.
Oh, that's awesome.
In Chicago. So we may be making a trip up to Chicago on a Sunday so we can go, to another one of their recordings. Because when they record normally, they have an audience come in, and they just have people come up as they want. If you want to come up, you sign up on a sheet, and they bring you up one at a time.
Wow.
So it was an amazing experience. We taught some games. We went to this nerd bar called 42 Lounge, which was phenomenal. They had a 120-inch screen where they were playing Wii U.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then 2 60-inch screens where they had one with a PS4 and one with an Xbox One.
Jeez.
I had a butterbeer, which you can order hot or cold, which was the sweetest alcohol I've ever had. It hurt my teeth. It was so sweet, but it was full of it was booze, and booze, and they ran out of whipped cream, so no whipped cream on top. It was just straight booze. And then, have you played Shadow of the Colossus?
No, but I have friends that have played it. I've seen videos and stuff.
So then we got ballsy and we ordered their $15 beer called the Colossus and the Wanderer, which is a direct relation to that game.
Okay.
The Colossus is a full Guinness, a full Angry Orchard, and 3/4 of a Wild Blue Berry beer, all poured into one glass. And then the Wanderer is a shot of brandy on the side. I don't like Guinness. I think it's too dark and bleh.
Me too.
And this was a really good beer. It sweetened it up while still keeping some of the creamy malty flavor from the Guinness.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't overpowering on either end, and it was in a mug the size of Shirley's head. So if you follow us on Instagram at _nerds_domain, you can find pictures of that there. That was awesome.
Nice.
But we did a bunch of really fun stuff. We ate really good food. I had this fantastic beer cheese soup that was awesome. I'm a big fan of food, and hence why I don't have the physique for steampunk.
Right.
Yeah, we did that. So that was our first con of the year, and it was a 3-day experience. It was phenomenal.
That's really cool.
We're attending but not setting up at Wizard World and Indiana Comic-Con.
Okay.
I don't know how I feel about either one of those yet, and we'll see how I feel about them when they get here.
Yeah, I'm kind of nervous about both of them. Mostly Wizard World for some reason, because I feel like that's just adding to just a big slate of conventions in the area.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's what they do. They wait until you have a Comic-Con, and then they come in and throw money at it to make you go away.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to end up happening is Indiana Comic-Con will fail after this year.
Yeah.
Not through any fault of their own, although last year was completely their fault. But we won't get into that because I'm very bitter. But we're going to attend both of those and not do anything else. We're just going to show up.
Yeah.
Although I might ask for William Shatner to instead of giving me a signature to do some bumpers.
Oh, nice.
Because I would be more than willing to pay for that because we have that Star Trek related podcast. And if I could get him to scream, "There are 4 lights," that would be phenomenal.
That would be amazing.
And then what else is coming up? So those are February and March. April, we have Steampunk Symposium in Cincinnati and HoosierCon. HoosierCon we're setting up at. We're going to have tables. We're going to run events. We're going to do a bunch of stuff. And hopefully not die that weekend from exhaustion. And then Steampunk Symposium, we're just running one event, but it's over in Cincinnati, so it's a day trip over. We don't have anything official for the website or the podcast in May. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. But then in June, we are going to Indie PopCon.
Right.
That's at the end of June. And then we'll be going to Gen Con, where Indie PopCon will have a table, and we'll probably end up doing live recording and host some panels and who knows what else. Yeah. But then Gen Con, we will not set up a table, but we're going to run more games than we ran at HoosierCon. I have a whole team and literally an hour and a half meeting tomorrow just to tell the team what we're all doing and prep for it. We should be running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 events.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. 8 events over the weekend. Plus, I still have to do some meet and greet, and I have to do some stuff for my other job, not my real world job, but my job that actually pays for the podcast. So that'll be awesome. And it's my 10-year-old, my 11-year-old, holy crap, my 11-year-old son's first Gen Con. So I'll get to deal with him crapping his pants because of how awesome it is. And then what else is there? No Awesome Con this year, thank God. And then we'll be at Starbase Indy, where we will round out the year relaxing and having fun. I think if everything comes together, we'll be running their game events this year, which would be fantastic.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and then that'll be the end of the year, hopefully, because Gen Con to Starbase is a couple of months where we'll spend all of our time catching up from Gen Con.
Right.
And then Starbase Indy last year was so relaxed, especially when the jerks that shared the table with us left. It freed up a lot of space.
I'm sure it did.
and made it easier for just stuff 4 of us. I didn't realize we were getting half a table.
Yeah.
But he was like the week before, I'm like, hey, where are we at? What do we do? Like, what's going on? He's like, okay, so you're sharing a table with, and I was like, oh, crap. Okay, we'll shove 4 of us behind half a table.
Right.
We'll see how that works out.
It was a little cramped. I really liked that they had that little room set up for us to get like food and coffee and stuff.
Yeah. The thing with Starbase Indy, like all these other cons are great. Don't get me wrong. I love all these other cons. They're friendly, they're happy, everything's great. There's something about Starbase Indy that all of us walked away from going, you know what? This felt like home. It felt like we were at home talking to people. There was food everywhere. Like they fed us like crazy. I literally could not have walked away from that convention and gone, man, I'm hungry. I wish I would have eaten. No, there's food in the con suite. And It wasn't a con suite. It was a con freaking hall.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and free drinks, free food, free hot dogs, free cake, donuts. Like they had everything.
It was amazing. Awesome.
Oh yeah. And free coffee all day, which there were some people that were very happy about that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was a hectic weekend for just all three of us. So that's why we didn't get to spend like that much time there. Oh, yeah. But I mean, that coffee was just a lifesaver.
Oh yeah. And so I was, you know, those are our cons this year. Those are our official cons. We're going to go to a couple of trade days. And you know what? We'll be at Origins too. I keep forgetting Origins because it's also a trade day.
Okay.
We'll be at Origins as well, but we'll just be attending. And honestly, I'm never going to run anything at Origins. I don't think. It's just there's too much other stuff going on, and I have to devote so much time to my job.
Right.
Like, you know. So yeah, Origins will be great. This will be our first year at Origins. Which, if you're not familiar with Origins, it's like Gen Con, only much smaller.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask. That's cool. Huh.
So. Yeah, we've got a bunch of conventions. We've learned a lot of stuff from conventions, like have things to sell and have things to give away to make people sign up for your newsletter.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. Yeah, but it's been really good, and we've had a good time.
Very cool. That's very cool. Yeah, I have a lot. I'm at a loss for transitions. I'm trying to think of how to transition to. I'm going to edit this out.
That's all right. I want to ask you some questions.
Oh, all right. Yeah, go right ahead.
Because I love The Shield, and you love The Shield.
Yes.
We have not talked about The Shield.
We have not talked about The Shield.
I stopped by your booth at Indie PopCon, and it's just tiny, just this giant bear of a man standing behind the thing. And I thought, man, I hope he's actually on the podcast and not just here to rip off arms. But like, I was like, hey, tell me about your podcast. He's like, hey, you want to be on it? And I'm like, okay, sure. And so we get done. He's like, yeah, Matt really loves The Shield. I wish Matt was here. And I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. But I'm going to go back to my booth now, and you guys should stop by and say hi. So, no, but yeah, The Shield, like every time we talk about anything. So the week The Shield was going to come out, and The Shield is one of the few shows in the last 2 decades that I literally sat down in front of the TV every episode and was like, show me what's on. I want to see it. I watched all of the first 3 seasons. I missed season 4 until later, unfortunately.
I was kind of the same way.
But it was, oh, geez. Like, I love Vic Mackey. I love Michael Chiklis, who plays him. I love everything about that show. I love seeing the other people from that show in other shows. Like, I love Walter Goggins in Justified.
Yeah, I haven't been able to watch Justified yet, but I know.
It's like. Did you ever watch Deadwood?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, you know what? If you don't have Amazon Prime,
I do.
Go. Okay, so they're both on Amazon Prime. Watch Deadwood. And you'd be like, wow, this is great. Why did it only have 3 seasons? And then go watch Justified and go, wow, they did some time travel and some stuff, because this is clearly just Deadwood again.
That's awesome.
But like, well, first, Deadwood has Timothy Olyphant and Ian McShane. Ian McShane, who do you know who Ian McShane is?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm just like, he's been in so many things. The only thing I can think of though is Panda, the panda thing. He's the voice of the evil tiger.
Kung Fu Panda?
In Kung Fu Panda, yeah.
That's such a weird pull.
I know. But Ian McShane is phenomenal in Deadwood. Like,
nice. You
both love and hate the character, and both wish you could kill him and want to be on his team. He is so political and like strategic and fantastic. Brutal as all get out, and then he gets a little crazy. To the point that like he starts talking to a disembodied head for a while.
Oh, that's cool.
And the show is like it's very rough. It's rougher than the Shield, mostly because they, instead of doing like old timey cursing, they just use like words that you would use nowadays.
Right.
And it's there's a lot.
Nice.
There is a lot because it was on HBO and they didn't care. So,
right.
But Ian McShane and Timothy Olyphant are just phenomenal in it, and then
Nice.
Timothy Olyphant in Justified is even better.
I think I had watched like maybe 7 episodes of the first season of Justified when it aired, and I think it's kind of weird because I had a similar experience with when I first saw Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Oddly enough, that's a weird connection, but is that the first like several episodes were very like episodic and very just like self-contained, and I mean, coming off of like seeing the S.H.I.E.L.D., which the S.H.I.E.L.D., I've always said the S.H.I.E.L.D. is like the perfect blending of serialized storytelling and like police procedural episodic television. And it just kind of got away from me with Justified. But now that the show's ending, I'm planning on jumping back into it.
After the first season, the Justified stops being so episodic. It goes into a serial, and it starts. There are things that happen in that first season that matter in season 4 and 5. And usually what happens is a season has an overarching story, and then they're done with that. They set that story aside. So it's almost as though instead of a villain of the week, it's a villain of the season.
Nice.
But even those villains stick around.
Okay.
So I don't know. I really, really like it. Walter Goggins is phenomenal in that show.
And that's what I was so excited about for him to get on there, because I mean, I champion the hell out of him in the S.H.I.E.L.D. And
is he in the S.H.I.E.L.D.? Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. You said the S.H.I.E.L.D. I heard Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay, I was like, I almost had a heart attack. No, no, because he was fantastic in the S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah. Can we go back to talking about the S.H.I.E.L.D. real quick?
No, if Shane were smart, he'd be Ian McShane's character in Deadwood.
Oh, that is the perfect way to sell me on a show.
Shane was so despicable.
He was.
But like, at times you're like, man, he is trying so hard and just screwing it all up.
Absolutely. He's what I love the most about the S.H.I.E.L.D. is just the relationship between Vic and Shane, because it's this twisted, almost brotherly kind of big brother little brother thing, and then like Shane gets involved with his wife, and it just muddles, like has this kind of like Lady Macbeth kind of feel to it, and it's the way that it all plays out is just so satisfying. Like the last couple years, like several shows that I've loved, like Boardwalk Empire, and to a far lesser extent, for the point that I'm trying to make, Breaking Bad, like their endings they've ended, and like with Boardwalk Empire, the ending was just like, okay, I called this ending before while rewatching the 3rd season before the final season started airing, and it was just like I just wasn't that impressed with it. And then Breaking Bad was a very, very good finale and very good end to the story, but I'm just like, the S.H.I.E.L.D. was just so much better on every level. And I feel like a crazy person, or I feel like people think I'm crazy because no one really watched the S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's such a shame.
Well, and it is very visceral, but it has the ending. The ending is everything it should be and heartbreaking all at the same time. Like, as much as you don't want to root for the bad guy, you're rooting for him the whole time. Like, 7 seasons you're rooting for this guy. And when you get to the end, you're like, oh, that's terrible.
Right.
That's about as good as it could get for him, though. He deserves that. He deserves every bit of it.
Right. And it's just such a beautiful, like Shakespearean kind of tragedy almost. Well, yeah, definitely tragedy.
Yeah.
And it, like, so many different arcs just end so perfectly, and like everyone gets such a good send off, and such like I can't say anything without like spoiling, and I want people to see it.
Oh yeah.
But Oh man, it's just one of the most gripping series finales of a TV show I've ever seen. And and it's funny because at PopCon I don't remember if Tiny told me about you at the table or about talking about the Shield, or I think he may have said something like, "Oh yeah, some guy came up and he was talking about the Shield," and I was like, "Oh damn, I wish I was at the table." But
Yeah.
I'd completely forgotten about that until I was editing it, and then I came to like your clip and I was listening to it. I was like, "Son of a bitch." I wish I was there.
Yeah, it's just such a good show, and like I'm watching The Sopranos, which has some of the same bend to it. You're watching but in this you're watching a criminal be a criminal,
right?
In that you're watching a cop be a criminal,
yeah. And
but even as the cop is being a criminal, he's still kind of being a good guy,
right? That's how it kind of starts out. Like at least it's like they have this justifiable like reason. Like okay, well they're like okay, we're trimming like we're helping out some certain factions of street gangs so that they don't get mixed up with this faction, and we're taking some money off the streets, but it's drug money, so it's okay. And
yeah, we're keeping them from selling it at schools.
Yeah,
and we're keeping the drug deaths down. Like they have justification, and it's solid, and then it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And well, I guess it doesn't. It starts off pretty bad because at the end of the first episode, you're like, "What the crap just happened here?"
Right, and we talked about that on, I think our notable movie deaths episode recently.
Oh yeah,
that like it was kind of just genius the way that they marketed the show, because in like the first episode before it premiered, they showed a certain character from the pilot like prominently in all the promos, and then that character isn't in the show anymore.
Yeah. And so I don't know. There's so much good about the Shield, and it's something that literally I can sit down and just turn on and just enjoy again and again. And that the last season I will say is rough, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just it's so intense from episode 1 until episode 13 or whatever. Like the whole way through, I'm just like, oh my God, it's over. Okay, when's the next episode? Like, it's so rough.
And it's so satisfying. Like, in that last season, like, I won't say anything, obviously. Damn. There's, there's a very significant turn in the plot. Like,
oh yeah,
it's like almost, I think it's around halfway or a little bit over halfway through the season. And like, this is like second to last episode level turn. And they had the balls to do it with like 7 episodes in front of them. And the fallout from it is just so gripping and so incredibly satisfying.
Well, and a lot of that storytelling method, that I love so much there. I don't know if you've watched Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
Their last season, literally hits the fan so hard that until about like everything's gonna go terribly bad, and then it goes worse, and then they take hard left turns, and then until the last 20 minutes of the episode, I didn't realize how it was gonna end. And then I saw it and I was like, oh, how long are they going to draw this? Oh, and that was a show where they were like, kill a character. Okay, which one?
Right.
Like, we're going to play Russian roulette here, guys. And you're dead. I'm like, oh, I really like this. Oh, he's dead now. Oh, look, they just patched over this. Oh, he died too. Like they weren't shy about killing characters. It was a very violent show. They were violent people, and they portrayed that very well. And like Game of Thrones, which honestly is one of the only other shows that I know that is just okay with killing anybody.
Right. And
like Sopranos is okay with killing people, but they lead up to it. It's like, oh, this guy's turned. He's informing to the FBI. Clearly, he's gonna die.
Right.
It's a matter of time now. This one in Sons of Anarchy, it's like, oh, hey, he just got an ice cream cone. Why is his head splattered all over the pavement? Oh man.
That's awesome. I watched Sons of Anarchy for I think 4 or 5 seasons, and then I just stopped because it kind of reached a point where, and this is kind of my Shield bias coming in because it's Kurt Sutter came from writing for the Shield, and I would just sit there and I would pick apart, like, I would be like, okay, well, that really reminds me of this thing that was in The Shield, and I care more about the characters in The Shield than I do in Sons of Anarchy. And I think it really comes down to it just being, like, kind of that mystique of The Shield being about cops that that are dirty cops and kind of doing outlaw stuff under the collar of authority and all that. While Sons of Anarchy, there's a disconnect with me because it's like, okay, they're just outlaws for, like, they're just doing illegal stuff. I mean, it's kind of, I couldn't really get into it. And then finally, like, season 5, I think it was season 5, whichever season has Harold Perrineau from Lost in it. I was watching it and I was like, I don't know if it was because I wasn't paying close enough attention or just the plot was way too convoluted, but I was like, I don't know what the main focus of the season is. Like, I don't know what the main conflict for the club is, and I don't really care to really dig in and find out.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I mean, people loved that show, and I had a weird experience during the final season where I was kind of still curious about how it ends. So, I'm adamantly against spoilers of any kind. But for some reason, after every episode aired, I knew I wasn't going to I knew I wasn't going to pick up Sons of Anarchy. I knew I wasn't going to watch it. But I was still familiar enough with the characters and the storylines that I was like, every week I would be like, okay, I'll just check out what happened last night on Sons of Anarchy, and I would just read about it. And I'm like I'm hitting bullet points, and I'm sitting there like, on one hand I'm like, oh yeah, that would have been pretty cool to watch, and then on the other hand I'm like, oh, that kind of reminds me of The Shield a little bit.
Yeah,
but
and you know what? Maybe, and part of my love might be that it reminds me of The Shield.
Right. I mean, it could just be that I'm not that connected. Like, I'm not a fan of it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really, really like The Shield.
Nice.
That was my point.
Nice.
I do a lot of that on my podcast too.
Right. I'm I like the rest of this episode I have planned just freeballing kind of potpourri stuff. So is there anything else that you've watched lately that you're interested in? Or?
So here's the thing. I love dystopic movies and shows, and we've been watching Revolution. We're like 6 episodes in.
Okay.
I think we're on the 7th. I had to pause it so we could record this. It's not the greatest thing ever written. It is not this deep, intricate story. The acting isn't perfect. The writing isn't perfect, but it's pretty good.
Okay.
I've been watching that. I'm on my own. I'm watching The Sopranos. We have 3 levels of what I do when it comes to TV. We have what we all watch together, which right now is Revolution. We just finished up season 2 of The Arrow, and previous to that was Fringe.
Okay.
Fringe, I loved Fringe. Have you watched Fringe?
I haven't yet, but it's like on my radar. Yeah.
The first season has a weird feel to it. Get past the first season. I can't warn you enough that if you get done with the first couple episodes, you're like, this is a little odd. It gets better. I don't know. It just everything wasn't together yet. Okay. But they hit the second season running, and then by the time you get to season 4 or 5, whatever the last season is, they take everything and turn it on its head, and it's weird again.
Nice.
And there's a huge gaping plot hole, the hugest of all gaping plot holes in the last season.
Wow.
Which I don't feel like is a spoiler, because if you can't see it, you are blind.
That makes me very curious about it now, because I mean...
But if you hand wave that, which I don't like hand waving a lot, but if you just hand wave the one thing and deal with it another time, not worry about it, it's still very, very enjoyable.
Okay.
But Arrow, I enjoy. I'm a huge comic book nerd, so it can be bad, and I'd still try and watch it. But then on my own, I'm like season 5 of The Sopranos, and I love The Sopranos, but I know that there's a really weird, wonky ending.
Yeah,
and I don't know everything about it, but I've heard enough spoilers that I'm leery as I lead up to it. So, so I said there were 3 levels. There's what we watch as a family. Shirley and I and then there's what Shirley and I watched. We just finished up Vikings season 2.
Really?
Interesting. And while I know it is in no way, shape, or form historically accurate,
right?
It is really, really good.
Nice.
There's politicking. Donald Logue is in it.
Oh, nice. I really like him.
Oh, I do too. And then, yeah, you should watch the show then. Again, all on Amazon Prime. I'm just
nice.
saying. So there's what the family watches together. What Shirley and I watch, which is usually a little rougher. She and I just started Orange Is the New Black. I've already seen all of it.
Interesting.
And we got like 4 episodes in, and she's like, I don't know, it's dark. But we also watched like 5 episodes of House of Cards, and we got to the end of the 5th episode. She's like, I don't want to watch anymore right now, ever again. And she's okay with watching it again, but she can't speed through it like that.
Right.
And hypothetically, I'm the same way with Breaking Bad. I'm still in season 3, and I've been in season 3 for, I'd say, about a year.
Oh, wow.
Because about a year ago, I watched 6 episodes in a row of season 3, and I didn't want to get out of bed, and breathing didn't seem super important at the time.
Right.
And if a bus ran me over right then, I'd been like, all right. Season 3, I'm told, is very depressing, and it gets better.
Yeah.
But man, is it depressing. Oh my gosh. But I really, 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 really love the guy that plays Walter White. I think he was fantastic in Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston is amazing.
And there are some aspects of that dad in this character, but totally different.
Right,
very
right.
different. So,
yeah, Breaking Bad's incredible. It's kind of like everyone. Yeah, you've got to watch the rest. It's really good.
Yeah, I keep hearing that, and I want to. I really do. I have so far dodged all spoilers of what happens.
Oh, nice.
Because they'll be like, so on Breaking Up, nope, I'm unfollowing you on Facebook. Sorry, guy. We're no longer friends. I'm not doing this. But Shirley and I will watch Game of Thrones when it comes back out soon. That's soon, isn't it? Holy crap.
That's April 12th. And every year that it ends, every year the season ends, I'm like, I'm going to catch up on all the books and everything. And then like I finished book 2 like 2 months ago.
Oh, and haven't even started book 3?
I haven't even started book 3 because I've got this whole other, because like for Obsessive Book Nerd, I have like the goal is for all the contributors to hit 2 posts a month. And so I'm like, okay, well, I need to read like enough to have banked reviews so that I can spend a month reading Game of Thrones. It's
That's
very
awesome.
Strategic.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'll send you some books that are quick, easy reads that you can use for that.
Nice, I like it.
Yeah, no, I've been, I want to watch more of Breaking Bad. It's just so.
It's very
hard
bleak.
Getting through season 3.
Yeah, but it's very satisfying once you get to it. Thematically, it gets a little more streamlined after season 3. Like it's a lot quicker and it's a lot. It's not that they found their footing, but it's like the tone. Not really the tone shifts, but it becomes more about. Well, I guess the tone kind of shifts. It becomes more about Walter White. Walter White transforming somewhat.
Yeah. Well, and I don't mind watching the guy go crazy, but that it was rough in a good way. It was rough in every way it should have been, and it was just so rough.
Yeah.
That I can't. That one was a really hard episode to get through. I stopped that one probably 3 times. Just 'cause I was like,
which episode was it?
Like, the one where there's a fly.
Yes.
And it was well directed. It was well written. It was well acted. It's just everything about it was so grating, like it should have been. And I just couldn't. It was a lot to handle. But yeah, we've talked about watching Dexter since it's all on Netflix right now. And Boardwalk Empire is all on Amazon Prime, and I really want to watch it just because Steve Buscemi is I really love him in almost everything he's done. And seeing him as a maniacal leader, that seems phenomenal to me.
It's with Boardwalk Empire, like I was a big fan of it from the beginning. Like I was watching like not Game of Thrones, but I was watching something on HBO, and I would see previews for it, and I was like, oh, okay, 1920s gangster show with Steve Buscemi. Yeah, I'm there. So, like the first episode of Boardwalk Empire is it's the pilot is one of the best pilots I've ever seen of a show, and it's directed by Martin Scorsese, and it basically feels like an 80-minute long gangster movie set in the 20s, and it's just amazing. Yeah, and like from there, it kind of just in terms of sheer production value, it's like one of the most beautiful TV shows ever. And it's well worth watching despite some feelings I have about some choices that were made.
Oh, not ominous at all there.
No, not at all. Not at all. Choices that were made in I suspect that the choices were made by HBO and not Terrence Winter, which is another selling point for why you might really like it, because Terrence Winter came from The Sopranos. And,
oh, right on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm liking and disliking The Sopranos at the same time. I'm to the point where I see the story they're trying to build, but they keep giving me all these other things to look at.
Okay.
And I just wish they would follow through with the story they're giving me instead of trying to give me all these side stories.
Right.
Watching what's his face die. What was the name of him? What was his name?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, well, spoiler, in one of the seasons they have a guest star for the season, and hey, guess what? He dies at the end.
Okay.
What is his God, it's the guy that played Ben Urich in Daredevil.
I got nothing.
Anyway, so yeah, Sopranos is I years ago I watched the first season and I put it down and I went, I'll probably never watch that again, and I don't want to watch the rest of it. It's terrible.
Right.
But realistically, I look back and I realized that it was a slow build and a good story. It just was not what I needed at the time out of a story.
Yeah. It
was the same time that I watched Oz. And I watched the first season of Oz, and at the end I was like, wow, that's heavy. I don't know if I can do another season. And so I've never watched the rest of Oz either. Which, ironically, also on Amazon Prime. I really love Amazon Prime's HBO deal.
I can tell.
Which will go away when HBO starts streaming.
Right.
Which just means I'll pick up HBO for streaming.
Yeah, and that's a no-brainer for me too. I'm very curious what they're gonna what kind of price point they're gonna set it at.
You know what? If they set it at $15 or $20 a month, I might be willing to pay it, especially between, I don't know, April and the end of Game of Thrones.
Right. Me too.
And I think that's the thing they're going to see is they're going to spike at certain times.
Oh, yeah.
When people want to watch things, which, hey, you just figure that price or you figure that market out and deal with it.
Yeah. And it'll be very curious. I'll be very curious to see how they use ads in it, because they could go like the Netflix route where it's just completely ad-free streaming. I mean, and maybe HBO Go is a good indicator of what it is. I haven't used HBO Go, or they could do like Hulu Plus where they have like commercials built in, which I don't think they would now that I'm actually saying that out loud because it's HBO.
Well, and Hulu is stupid.
I've never. My friend used it. I saw my friends using it last weekend, and I was like, oh, I can't. Like, I can't deal with this at all.
We use it for Criterion Collection, and there are no ads in that. Thank God, because if they broke up those movies, I would drive out to wherever their headquarters are, and I would stab somebody. But their movies are all commercial free. It's their TV shows where there are commercial breaks. They put in commercials.
Yeah.
But the turnaround argument is, why am I paying you $8 a month to get commercials?
Right.
Just to watch a show the next day. Like, that's a waste of my time. Meanwhile, Netflix is charging the same price, has a better movie selection, has a better show selection. Yeah, they don't get it the next day, but that's the only difference, and I'm getting the same deal.
Right.
Amazon Prime actually charges less. We're paying $100 a month, which is give or take around the same, but before this year it was $80 a month, or $80 a year. $80 a year. And for that $80 a year, we were getting stuff that just like the HBO stuff. The only place I can get that is if I pay $15 a month for HBO.
Yeah.
And instead I just pay for Amazon. Right. And I get free 2-day shipping on top of it.
Yeah. And that's like, I got Amazon Prime like just for the 2-day shipping, and I don't really, admittedly, I don't use the streaming that often. Like I used it somewhat for when my PS3 was working, but now that it's not, it's like now I need to figure out how to do it like from a tablet. I don't know if I can. I don't know if there's an app for it on my Android or anything or whatever. So it's kind of, I'm struggling with that, but I'm also like, okay, well, I'm kind of limiting myself with what I can do with the Chromecast, so I might as well get the most use out of it and get the use out of Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Oh, and you got to realize that if I'm paying $15 a month for HBO is not seeing all $15.
Right.
They're probably seeing half that at best. So even if they're charging $9.99 a month, which is a fair price point.
Right.
I'm getting a better deal. They're getting a better deal, and they're going to have more subscribers because.
Oh yeah.
One of the only reasons we have cable is it lowers our internet bill. So if I knew I could get rid of cable and still get HBO and keep the internet, and I could figure out the difference and make it economical, I might be willing to do that. You know, HBO could really change how network TV works.
Absolutely.
We'll see how that actually works.
Yeah.
I'm very excited because they had the balls and they have the strength of what they've got on there. If Showtime or what else is out there? What, Cinemax? Stars. If either one of them tried to do this, it would fail completely.
Oh, yeah.
But since HBO's doing it, they have, and I hate to say it, mostly because I think of Game of Thrones, they have the chance to do it right.
Oh, yeah.
Not to say that their other shows aren't worth it, because I really think all of them are. I have not seen anything on HBO that I went, yeah, this is terrible. Yeah. Like, even the stuff I didn't like is well produced and well written.
Right, like the first season of True Blood even is a very solid season of TV.
I forget that True Blood is even on there.
Yeah, but the rest of it I couldn't get into. But that first season itself is just really interesting. And then, I mean, I'm not like people sing 6 Feet Under's praises so hard, and I just couldn't get it. I just didn't get the appeal. I thought that it was really pretentious, and I watched every episode, and I thought it was really well acted, but it just had this kind of dryness to the plot that was just, it didn't work for me. It was just really grated on my nerves. But like you said, well produced.
And then they've got what's the John Adams? They've got a John Adams series acted by a guy from Sons of Anarchy, the sheriff. What's his name? The actor. I should probably look that up. I have a computer in front of me. IMDb. Here we go. But he's also in Deadwood. And he's phenomenal in Deadwood. Yeah. Oh, there's a weird like twist where all the characters I like from different shows all the actors I like from different shows are in other shows I also like. Yeah. What was I watching? Oh, we were watching Revolution, and one of the guys from Justified was in there. I was like, oh, it's that guy. And he's walking because in Justified he's in a wheelchair. So I should look this up.
I know John Adams has Paul Giamatti as John Adams.
Oh, you know what? That's Paul Giamatti. You're right. No, it's Paul Giamatti. It's not this other guy whose name I'm still not finding. Dayton Callie.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Who looks kind of like Paul Giamatti.
As soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, he does. Yeah. But that John Adams miniseries is just insane. It's really, really good. It's beautiful.
Well, they've got stuff like that nobody talks about. Yeah. And I was looking at HBO Go and I was like, what is this? What is this? I should watch that. And then I got distracted by 1,001 other things. And I've never sat down to watch it, and I really, really need to because it looks phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
And I really can't wait to see what else they're gonna do with HBO because yes, you know what? I love Game of Thrones. Don't get me wrong, but if they don't take that and turn it into something else, then they're really doing themselves and everybody else a disservice. You know?
And that's kind of like last night, me and Tiny went and saw the Game of Thrones in IMAX thing, which was just so amazing. It was really cool. Like they basically screened the last 2 episodes of season 4 in IMAX. Like they converted it to IMAX and everything, and then they showed like a short preview of season 5. And I mean, just seeing it on that big of a screen, and like, are you all caught up on Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Okay. In the Battle at the Wall, the Watchers on the Wall episode, the penultimate episode, do you remember that scene where like the camera basically it's like one of the most badass scenes of television I've seen where like Jon Snow comes off of the like little elevator thing from the wall, and then the camera like follows him and he's fighting and he takes out a couple of guys, and then the camera just glides all around the entire area, like a complete like 360, and it's all one continuous take. It's so jaw-dropping, and to see that in IMAX was just such a treat, and it made me think, and all it made me think was if they could find the way creatively to make like a Game of Thrones movie. I know that George R.R. Martin's talked about it, saying that they'll need the budget of a movie to tell some of the story. Like a couple years ago, I think he said that. Because as he said, dragons are expensive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and just seeing it on the big screen, like I have a theory that they were doing this to kind of test the waters to see what kind of response they would get by having it in a theater. And I just think that it could be really, really interesting to see a movie, like a feature film of it. But that's also the trouble, because I mean that A Song of Ice and Fire is so dense with everything that it's really hard to think of how they could make anything.
It would have to be like a 6-hour movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or it would have to be like, it would be a really tricky way to do it, because it would just be jumping platforms, and I mean it has the audience that will follow it and everything, but it's also like you come off a season of Game of Thrones and then you go see a movie that maybe only takes up a short section of the next book. And honestly, creatively, I think that's a bad way to go in story. I think you go out of story and go back to the Targaryens, and maybe maybe the movie is like a prequel,
the rebellion against the Targaryens.
Oh, that would be cool.
Because if they're like, we're not going to show this on HBO for 6 months,
right?
You can go see it in the theater. I would line up to go see that.
Absolutely.
You bring back what's his name that played Baratheon.
Yeah, I don't remember the actor's name, but Robert Baratheon, and also
and then you bring back Eddard Stark, and you bring back, or you get younger actors to play them.
Yeah,
which I'm perfectly fine with that as well.
Oh yeah,
and you get to see all of these terrible people back when some of them were actually heroic in some small way,
right?
And maybe you tell the story of Jon Snow that way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
I know that there are several theories about him.
Oh yeah.
And like I'm not deep enough into the books to really.
Oh, I know the answer. But I've already been told the answer, even if it's not right.
Right.
So,
I think, yeah.
And if that's the answer, if that's actually what happened, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Like if that's the story, like I can't wait for that to happen, because it makes sense where he's at. So
right. And I know exactly.
That's so vague.
And I know exactly what you're talking about too.
So yeah. So speaking of movies, I'm sorry, I'm going to take us on another track, because this one came into my mind. Good. But you were talking about dragons and how expensive it is, and Peter Dinklage. So yeah. We just watched a movie called Knights of Badassdom.
You see, it's interesting.
So I have a background in LARPing.
Okay.
I never played a boffer LARP like this, but I played other political LARPs that involved vampires and such.
Okay.
And you know what? The movie drew me in all the way through until they revealed the monster.
Okay.
And it was such a bad CGI costume, like creature work, that it drew me out of the movie, and I went, oh, this is terrible.
Oh, that's too bad. I got maybe 15 minutes into it, but before I was like, I don't know if I'm really into this right now, because admittedly I was like, I still had episodes of Black Mirror that I wanted to watch, so I was like, I'm going to watch that instead.
No, it was a fun throwaway movie. I've always liked Steve Zahn, always.
Me too.
There's nothing he's been in that I haven't enjoyed, and I don't know why that is. But his ridiculous acting is great.
Yeah.
I could honestly go either way with Summer Glau. I don't really care if she's in something. I think she was great in Firefly.
Yeah.
But I also think that she used that to build some sort of prestige that I don't think she really deserves. And I know that sounds really harsh. And if she were at a convention, I would still probably get her autograph. but like the turnaround to that is like, why do I want to see Summer Glau in something? Because these characters she's playing are not going to live up to what I see her as in Firefly and Serenity. Right. And I don't know how big of a fan of you are of those, but if you don't like it, we're no longer friends and we can interview you now.
I really, really like Firefly, and Serenity just, I mean, it killed me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just, I mean, it was great, but just some of the choices, man, damn it.
Oh yeah. Her being in it was okay, I guess. But the rest of the characters were well done. And when I look back at it and realizing it's an independent movie, until you hit that creature and the creature work there, it was fine. And I was all in. And then they reveal the monster, and I'm like, really, guys? I could get some cardboard boxes and some paint. I could do this better. Like, you couldn't have paid somebody. Like, Peter Dinklage couldn't have reached in his own pocket and paid for this crap.
Right.
Like, come on.
Jeez.
Like you guys don't know somebody that owes somebody a favor somewhere? You're all real actors. Come on.
God. Yeah, I didn't get far enough into it, but yeah, I could kind of see that was kind of the way it was going. I mean, it kind of looked it looked a little bit kind of charming, but kind of still goofy. So
it's super campy. Super campy.
Oh yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. So yeah. And what are you gonna do, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to. I had another thread there, but have you watched any Black Mirror? I've been talking up Black Mirror to everyone that I know for the past like week, and it's funny because I just finished it yesterday, and it's like, talk about like a dystopian kind of. Not really dystopian, but some of it's like have you watched any of it?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, I'll sell you on it really briefly because I just talked about it in the last episode of the podcast. But when I was listening to it again, or the episode before, I think, I don't know, but the last two episodes, but it was like I'd only watched like 2 episodes, and then since then I've watched all of it, and it's like, it's so good. Like, if you're into science fiction and dystopian kind of really almost cautionary tales, or just like examining the dark side of human nature and technology, this is the show for you. It's an anthology show where each episode is a self-contained story that tells a story about humans and technology in a very, very clever and very inventive and very terrifying way. And like, some of the stuff, like, of the 7 episodes there are, probably 5 of them just hit me in such a specific spot that it just stuck with me for I'm still like processing some of the stuff that I watched and some of the things about it. Like, there's did you ever watch the movie Her?
No.
Okay, well, Her is a very interesting sci-fi love story, and it's very unique, and I love the movie. The movie's amazing, but there's an episode of Black Mirror that kind of takes that same idea that's presented in Her, with the whole Siri kind of love story kind of thing, but uses that kind of idea to examine grief and what a woman who lost her husband, who has a chance to reconnect with someone like him, like an artificial intelligence of him, and it's just like the way that it unfolds is just so gripping, and it's just I don't know, I can't explain just how much I love this show.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, I haven't looked at it yet. I try and stick with one show at a time and then complete it, which may or may not be a good idea.
I I think that's admirable because I can't. I mean, I'll get into a show and then it'll just kind of drop off, and I'll like switch to something else, and then I'll lose track of that one, and it's hard to juggle.
Yeah. Well, and so the other things I've been watching lately, because I absolutely love streaming. We have cable.
Yeah.
I don't think we've watched anything on TV since New Year's Eve, and that was only because the countdown was on TV. And then prior to that, I hadn't watched anything in 10 months, maybe.
Jeez. I don't even have a cable box in my bedroom.
Yeah. Like, well, we were not allowed to have a TV in the bedroom, so that's a whole other issue.
Okay.
But like, Netflix has such great stuff on it lately. Like Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2 are on there, and I watched both of those because why wouldn't you? I've been watching Friends because I dropped off of Friends in like season 6, and so why not just finish it? It's all on Netflix now. Oh, yeah. We watched Kronk's New Groove, which was just ridiculous. It's The Emperor's New Groove direct-to-video sequel.
Okay.
We watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah. Nice.
We watched the first episode of Stephen King's The Stand.
Really? And what did you think of that? Oh, quick tangent. When you, because you brought up Stephen King, I have to bring up something else. When you referenced Revolution, I forgot to mention that I've never seen the show, but I'm kind of interested in it just because the writers of Revolution, they're huge Stephen King fans, and there's some elements of the show that harken our little like kind of references, like some character names are references to iconic characters in Stephen King's bibliography and all that. But what I love about it, I mean, I've never seen a single frame of Revolution, but some of the episode titles are named after Stephen King works and other pop culture stuff. Yeah, like I don't think this is a spoiler or anything, but like the season finale episode title for season 1, I think is just, it's called the Dark Tower.
Okay.
Which
we haven't gotten that far yet, but yeah.
I hope that isn't a spoiler of some kind, but
no, okay. Not that I'm aware of. So far it's been, like I said, it's been okay. It's not been bad. It's not been phenomenal. But yeah, so Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey. So we watched a movie on the Criterion Collection called man, I always lose this movie. It's got what's his name in it from Minority Report. Back to IMDb we go. Crap.
Tom Cruise? Colin Farrell?
No. It's Ingrid Bergman. Is that right? No. Max von Sydow.
Max von Sydow. Okay.
So Max von Sydow is in, I believe, an Ingrid Bergman movie.
Okay.
Called something. Crap. It's a Swedish movie. Seventh Seal.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I've heard of that. I've never seen it, but I mean, it's a very
Ingmar Bergman. Ingmar Bergman. So first, Seventh Seal. You should watch it if you have Hulu Plus. It's completely worth it. If you don't, it's almost worth the $8 to rent it.
Nice.
Like,
it's been on my radar like for years.
So it's so tropey because all of the tropes came from there. Like the concept of that. Well, let's back up. It stars Max von Sydow, a guy named Gunnar Bjornstrand.
Oh God.
Yeah, you want to see it just because he's in it. I don't know what I forget who he played, but we were like, who? Oh, that name's awesome. Our modern concept of death, that shrouded figure with the scythe, comes from this movie.
That's where it originated?
We would not have it. Yeah, if we would not have it were it not from this movie.
Wow.
So we watched this, and I'm reading up on it while we're getting ready for the podcast, and it's like, yeah, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is essentially a huge chunk of that plot is the Seventh Seal. And I'm like, what? So the Seventh Seal, and no spoilers, but come on, it's been out for nearly 60 years.
Right.
I think we're good. The plot is Max von Sydow's character comes back from the Crusades. There's a plague in the land, and Death shows up as he hits the shore, and he tells Death that he's not ready to die, and he'll play him a game of chess for it. So the whole movie, they're playing this game of chess, which is a direct correlation to Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey because they play death for the ability to go back. And so much so that there's a scene in The Seventh Seal where they're in a castle. They recreate the scene in Bill and Ted. And I'm like, wow, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or Bogus Journey is a lot smarter than I have ever given it credit for.
That's awesome.
The writer and the director and like they went, hey, you know what would be fun? Is all these idiot kids that are going to go see this movie are not going to see this. Let's do it. And there's a part where they're in this weird dining room with like all this stone walls and there's a giant fireplace. And the first time I saw it, I was like, what is that? It's a direct scene and scenery from Seventh Seal.
Wow.
And I was like, what the crap? Huh. So we watched Seventh Seal and I immediately saw that Bogus Journey was on Netflix and we watched it.
And
there are such great parallels. It's phenomenal. Wow. How together it is.
I haven't seen either the Bill and Ted's in a long time.
Okay.
Like I remember, I want to say, like I need to Google like the actual timing for this, but I think that is like going to a drive-in, like my dad taking us to a drive-in, like around the time like the second one first came out. They had the double feature at the drive-in, and that's like one of my earliest movie memories. Is Bill and Ted.
Oh yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah, and clearly the Ingmar Bergman references were lost on me at that time.
Oh yeah. Well, and it like the we watched Excellent Adventure last night. Mm-hmm. It's phenomenal. It's a really good movie.
Nice.
It's dumb. It's goofy, but it's dumb in a way that like they're like, hey, you know what you should do? You should steal your dad's keys and put it behind the sign, and then we'll just make sure we do it later.
Right.
Look, here they are. What? Like, time travel doesn't work like that, guys. But I guess if you're a whole bunch of idiots, man, the whole like future is based on you.
Right.
Maybe it does work like that, I guess.
Right.
So I just it was ridiculous. But it was fun, and I really can't complain about that. Bogus Journey was good. Wayne's World's always good. Mm-hmm. Always good. And then I've been watching some World War II documentaries because I have to prep for, a World War II game that I need to actually know my before I get going. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Sopranos,
Yeah, I've gotten in Sopranos. I've gotten like 9 episodes in the first season. Because I had the idea that I would like pick a show and go to the gym and watch it at the gym.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, well, I'll just do like that'll be my cardio. It would be an hour on the elliptical or on the treadmill or something, just watching Sopranos. And then I realized The Sopranos is an HBO show, and HBO shows have nudity.
It's a lot of naked strippers in that one.
Whoops. And a lot of like kind old ladies come to my gym. So it was kind of I kind of fell off that idea, but yeah, I'll probably get to it eventually.
Well, and I forgot that what's her name? Is in Sopranos and in Sons of Anarchy.
Drea
DiMatteo.
Yeah.
And she looks so much different in Sopranos. Like she's thin and like thin. And I'm not saying she's fat in Sons of Anarchy, but she has definitely put on like some healthy weight. Mm-hmm. And I'm very impressed. She's not super compelling in Sons of Anarchy.
Right.
But she's really compelling in Sopranos, and she does a really good job too. So, yeah, if you get a chance to watch that, it's completely worth it.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, so is Vikings. Uh-huh. But Vikings is not historically accurate.
Right. Right.
So.
Yeah. Oh, well, we should probably wind this down a little bit.
We haven't run long at all.
No, we're fine. We're all good. Just to kind of wrap things up. Let's see. Why don't you tell everyone just where they can find you and where they can find Nerds Domain?
So you can find Nerds Domain over at nerdsdom.com. You can go right there and sign up on the newsletter for the newsletter on the right-hand side. I'm contractually obligated to say that. So then you can find our podcast at nerdsdomain.podomatic.com and masks.libsyn.com. That's libsyn.com. And then you can find us at HoosierCon, if you're here in Indianapolis. We'll be at Steampunk Symposium over in Cincinnati, and then all the other cons we talked about earlier. That's the two big ones that are coming up in April that I know we'll be findable at. So
nice, great. Well, thanks so much, man. This was such a blast, and this was a blast, and thanks so much for helping support us after meeting at Indie PopCon, because I mean it was.
I listened to the first episode of yours. I listened to was your wrap up of 2013.
Okay.
And when you're like, so I only watched like 150 movies, and I was like, you watched what? Well, okay, obsessive viewer kind of fits. And then Mike was like, well, I only watched like 98, and that's like not a lot. And I'm like, well, no, that's still a lot. I might have watched the same number, but I'm a freak, so we're on the same page here. Like this is the kind of thing I can relate to. And then your Summer of Sandler series, while I disagree that things like Little Nicky is phenomenal if taken in the right light.
Sure.
If you just don't give a crap about story and you just want to watch a bunch of really dumb like one-liners, it's a perfect movie. Go watch Little Nicky. Keep that in mind. And unfortunately, I got what was it? What was the stupid movie he did this last summer?
Blended?
Yeah. I got Blended in our movie draft, and it crapped.
That's right. I remember that.
Hard. It crapped all over. It crapped so bad that something else that same week or that like next to it that should have done well didn't do well. What's the movie with Jon Favreau and
Chef?
Chef did terrible.
Yeah.
I blame it on Blended.
And Chef was one of the best movies of last year. But the funny thing about Blended is that I think it was released like the Friday of PopCon, maybe.
Yeah.
And it was this big thing for us because we were like, okay, yeah, we're going to do Summer of Sandler. And then, we're all going to be in town for PopCon. And, after the first night, after the first day, we're going to go and we're going to see Blended. And it'll be a good kickoff to Summer of Sandler. And then we went to the theater, and there was like not that many people there on opening night of the movie, and I was like, "It's gonna be a long summer."
Yeah, and like we watched, I watched Spanglish, and I think Spanglish is phenomenal. Yeah, I think Adam Sandler steps out of who he pretends to be all the time and actually acted, and he did a great job. And there are some of his older movies that I can go back and watch and I can enjoy. 50 First Dates, I still think is a good movie.
It has its charms, sure.
And I really like Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore. Like those to me, I know I can still go and watch those. And if I can't, I don't want to find out by going and watching them. Right. But like some of his more recent stuff,
it's like, I mean, I think with Sandler, he works best when he is like he works best when he's not involved in the creative process.
Yeah.
And just the stuff recently is just like, it's literally he's going on vacation and he's using a movie, a very thinly created movie as an excuse to go on vacation, and it's so
I'm and you know what, when you have that kind of money, you don't really need a movie to get you there. Right. Yeah. In 2013 during the draft, I got Pacific Rim, which came out the same weekend as
Grown Ups 2.
Grown Ups 2. And Pacific Rim got blown out of the water by Grown Ups 2. And I watched Grown Ups, and there was nothing horrendous about it. It wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it wasn't terrible. But Grown Ups 2, so you're going to take a movie that was okay and make a sequel, fine. It should not beat out Pacific Rim. Ever. Right. Ever.
And I wasn't even that big a fan of Pacific Rim, but I mean, just knowing that Grown Ups 2, it's
one of our Jesse, one of our writers and co-hosts, he hates Pacific Rim, and he still thinks it's an atrocity that Grown Ups 2 beat out Pacific Rim, except that he owned Grown Ups too, so he was okay with it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was so mad about that week, and I'm like, how does this movie? I was like, oh, it's a Adam Sandler movie. I'm gonna write it off. And then we get to 2014, and I'm like, there's no way in hell Blended is gonna do any good. I shouldn't buy it. And then I'm like, wait, I said that about Grown Ups too. Maybe I'll get it. And then on a whim, I opened the bidding at $5, and I'm like, I bid $5. Somebody's like, I bid $6. I'm like, fine, I'm gonna drive the price up on this. Somebody ends up with crap. I bid $7, and crickets, nothing. And I'm like, crap.
Oh, that's
great.
beautiful.
I just got stuck with this piece of crap.
But didn't you also get The Fault in Our Stars, or was that someone else that got it?
Yeah, I was like, guys, this is gonna be a great movie, and they're like, I'm like, no, you guys don't get it. This will be a good movie. I don't care. It'll make easily $100 million. Like
right.
That's worth the $10 I'm gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
I got it for like $6, and just blew everybody out of the water. That and I didn't get Captain America. That and something. I ended up with something that really did well.
Nice.
I think I got X-Men and something else that was really solid that last year. And 2012, I got Avengers, and I literally first movie of the summer, Avengers, and I didn't have to do anything the rest of the year.
Oh, that's
all of my
beautiful.
could have caught on fire and burned, and I would have still won. So you were doing an exit, and I should let you get back to that.
Oh yeah,
after I tell everybody that you also can find us at Nerds Domain on Twitter and Facebook.com/Nerds Domain. See, I was gonna help you there.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, you can find links for all this stuff in the show notes. Once again, Matt, man, thank you so much. This was such a blast, and I'm sitting here in my brother's sunroom, the Turbo Ruse Studios, as we call it, and I'm freezing my ass off. But this was a blast, nonetheless. Oh no, it was great talking to you, and anytime you guys want to have me on, if it's an option, I'd be happy to. Absolutely. Oh yeah, and. Yeah, and you guys are going to be doing, I can't remember what segment for the Oscar nominations episode, but you guys are going to be involved with that. Best costume design. And I'm telling you, I haven't seen any of those other movies except Maleficent, so Maleficent, here it is. Nice. No, I told everybody they had to do research, whether they do it or not, before we sit down for the podcast. So you might get 5 minutes of, hold on, I'm searching, So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. That should be fun. Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. We did it last year, and we had a lot of fun just contacting a bunch of podcasts and everything. And then hopefully we'll be included in your summer draft, because I'm really excited for that. Yeah, the winter draft came up and left, and I was like, what happened? And nobody seemed to have done one on the website we use. So definitely the summer draft this year. Even if I have to put it together myself, we're gonna do it. There's nothing like a movie draft. Yeah, I'm like I listened to last year's summer draft for you guys, and I'm like I definitely want to be a part of it, because it sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. So all right, well, thank you once again, and thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer. And I'll throw it to the pre-recorded outros here pretty soon. I don't know how to really exit out of a podcast anymore now that we have pre-recorded outros. I love that. It's like we have pre-recorded intros, and I'm like, all right, and then I'm going to do the no, right. Guys, we're all here. That's all I got. It basically comes down to when I finally say thanks guys, and then Mike and Tiny say thanks guys, and I'm like, and then there's dead air, and then I'm like, all right, I guess we're done. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. All right, thanks guys. Thanks guys. Nice. All right, thanks for downloading the latest episode of the Obsessive Viewer podcast. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that features a specific topic, that covers a specific topic every week, be it genre, trope, movie, or show. And I'm here solo instead of with my other two hosts to do an interview with. God damn it! I messed that one up. Seriously, if you... This is why I go live to Harper. I just hit the fucking record button and I just fucking go. The rest of it, I don't care. Yeah. I give no shits. I'm done. Just move. No, you're fine. Go right ahead. Right. I might actually keep that in and just intro you that way.
As always, thank you for listening to the Obsessive Viewer podcast. Thank you to Loudlike for providing our awesome opening theme music. Their first EP is called Mistakes We Must Make and features our theme song and a clips of events. Please head over to iTunes and download their album. While you're there, make sure to give us a rate and a review. It helps us climb the podcast charts, and we really appreciate feedback. Speaking of feedback, please like our Facebook page at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer and follow each of us on Twitter. You can find me, Tiny, at ObsessiveTiny, Matt is at ObsessiveViewer, and Mike is at IamMikeWhite. You can also check out the blog at ObsessiveViewer.com, where we, but mostly Matt, review movies, TV shows, and comment on the industry as a whole. While you're web surfing, please head over to our sister site, ObsessiveBookNerd.com, where we review books and comment on the ever-evolving world of reading. If you're philosophically curious, please go explore my side project, the Secular Perspective Podcast, which is a show that explores the concept of faith, religion, and existence from a secular perspective. If you have any thoughts on the podcast or suggestions for future episodes, you can also email us individually at Matt, Tiny, or Mike at ObsessiveViewer.com, or email the podcast directly at podcast@ObsessiveViewer.com. Thanks for joining us today, and please come back.